I am about to say something a little controversial, so buckle up. Some of my toxic traits actually work for me,
What's the matter with you?
and some of your toxic traits actually work for you. If you think about it, it makes sense. All of our toxic traits are built for survival, protection, for control when we feel like our lives are out of control. Somewhere along the way, in my case, my toxic traits started working for me. Do they still show up as very toxic and negative? Yes. But I can also acknowledge the positive in them. And that's what I want to talk about in today's episode. I'm going to talk about 4 of my toxic traits and how they actually serve me in my life, how they've helped me achieve goals, how they've helped me get through, how they help me from not settling. So today we're going to explore a little bit, and I want you to start thinking about your toxic traits as well. I want to talk about how they serve a purpose in my life, a positive purpose, and then I also want to touch on where they are sabotaging certain parts of my life. So if you've ever been called too much, too bossy, too cold, this one's for you. Let's think about where those toxic traits come from and how they actually do serve us, but also like how to pull back a little bit so that we're not like super toxic. If you're new to this channel, my name is Quenisha and this is my podcast. Every week I publish 2 YouTube videos, one vloggy type video, and then one sit down and chat video like this, where I explore aspects of relationships, self-development, goal setting, friendship, you name it, I got it for you. So my first toxic trait is being too judgmental. This one stands out to me as clear as day. I have the default of not liking people, and then either that is confirmed or I prove myself wrong. I don't want to just be so accepting of everyone and invite everyone into my space. I like to make sure that I am running people through a filter, especially when it's about entering my space and being close personal friends with me or even acquaintances. This has worked for me because it helps me to quickly get out of situations that do not align with my values, to quickly not even establish relationships with people that do not align with my values. In my early 20s, I was not as judgmental about who was entering my life and who was in my space and who I spent a lot of time with. I was open, I was free, right? Like everyone's a good person. Over time, I've learned that people are good at hiding their intentions, or people are really good at pretending until they can't anymore. Me being judgmental has made it easier for me to spot red flags because I'm paying more attention. Now, obviously, being too judgmental can go left, and it does go left. I can be in situations where I judge people too harshly and too quickly without actually giving them a chance, and that ends up being the wrong decision. Me being judgmental also blocks me from connecting with people or empathizing with some of them. So while I know that this is a pretty toxic trait, I think that sometimes my judgment does protect me, but at times it does isolate me. My second toxic trait is being hyper independent. I can do it by myself. I'm getting to a point now where I don't want to do things by myself, so I love that for me. But it works for me because it builds resilience. I know I can handle things. There aren't many things that scare me. When I say that, I mean like just normal life things, because there are plenty of things that do scare me, by the way. So don't think I'm like super brave. But things don't scare me because I know that there's a resource out there for me. Whether that resource is another person, an article, an organization, I know that there's something out there that can support me, and I'm going to find it. This also works for me because no one can ever weaponize what they gave me. I don't want to sound like a strong black independent woman right now, but there aren't many things in my life that people can say they gave me. I always like to joke with Eric when he talks about all the subscriptions that he pays for, and I was like, don't forget, I was a well-established woman before I met you. And I still am. If me and Eric broke up tomorrow, I would be a-okay. I would be emotionally distraught, yes. But in terms of being able to take care of myself physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally, I would be able to rebuild my life, okay? And I take pride in that. Being hyper independent in relationships can get a little shaky, but knowing that I can stand on my own is a very powerful feeling. I think it also makes me a natural leader. I feel like I assume a lot of leadership roles in relationships with people Could it be draining sometimes? Yes, but Miss Mama's learning how to step back. I still want to maintain that self-starter energy because that is important to me. I really value that energy in me. Now, when can it go left? You can be exhausted and burned out from doing too much for yourself all the time. And that's a feeling that I'm sure a lot of you watching this video can identify with. I've also seen that me being hyper independent makes it hard for other people to show up for me because they don't necessarily know how to show up for me, what kind of support I would need. And honestly, it took me a long time to figure out what type of support I would need. The first time I had a job where a manager asked, how can they support me? I was so baffled because I was just like, aren't I just supposed to do my job and you evaluate whether or not I did it? My manager actually wanted to support me with difficult situations that I was facing with their expertise, right? Because I don't know everything and I never will know everything. None of us know everything. So we need to work together to figure out what the other knows. I think that this is something that with time and with growth is just naturally happening. I think all of us in our 20s feel like we know it all. You can't tell me anything. And as we get older, it's kind of like, yeah, tell me a thing or two. I have this experience under my belt now. I've made my mistakes. I've learned my lessons. Therefore, I can make a better opinion moving forward. My third toxic trait is I can be a little controlling. I like things to go my way, and I like to plan the outcome as much as possible. I like things to be organized. I am very dependable, and I am very much on point. I really take value in that. I'm seeing a trend, like these toxic traits that I'm naming. I'm also very proud of them because of the positive results they yield. I do understand the negative implications, but they kind of work for me. Being dependable, the person who's going to show up, the person who plans for all the outcomes, the person who is in planning mode, all of those things are valued, especially in a workplace. I value them in my life too, but sometimes it can be a little too much. I remember two very different vacations in my mind. One vacation where I planned out everything and every single goal I wanted to accomplish. It was when we went to go visit wedding venues. Everything worked out the way that it was supposed to. It was super planned, a little too over planned, but I'd rather be over planned than under planned any day. So that was great. I can think back to another vacation that I went on, and the people I went with were a little triggered because there were certain things that I wanted to do every day. They did not appreciate that. It makes sense to me, right? Because when you are around a person that plans out your every single move, it can feel very micromanagey. No one likes to feel micromanaged. No one likes to feel smaller than other people. We want to be collaborative. It's also hard to trust other people's processes. There's just some people's processes I don't trust. I just can't do it. I'm sorry. And that's just the control in me. Some people process and think through things so wildly different than me. And it's not that my way is right. It's just I can't even phantom that working at all. I found that if I'm not planning something with someone that has a similar mindset to me, or similar goals, or similar vision, or work process, it's hard to get it done because I don't see the vision. And you never want to work with someone where they don't see the vision. I do not recommend working with people that don't have the same vision as you. I don't care what your relationship is with them. They don't see the vision. Leave them where they are, and you leave them. You go do your own thing, whatever that means. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. Not everybody is meant to collaborate on every little thing, but I digress. Now on to our last toxic trait of mine, and that is sometimes I lack a little empathy for others. I struggle to emotionally connect to other people and validate others' feelings. The reason this works for me is because I'm not easily swayed emotionally. I have to see the logic in things. I really don't like to let emotions drive my life because that's not realistic. What makes sense? Not what makes you feel good, what makes sense. Also allows me to protect my peace in what could be very messy situations. because sometimes it's just not worth getting your emotions involved in it. It's just like logically, I hear this story, I know it makes no sense, and I prefer not to get emotionally involved in it. I just don't. I tend to take things through a filter. It makes it hard for me to emotionally support others or show up for others because sometimes I just can't validate the feelings there. And I know that's wrong. It's not always about how I feel, I guess. I don't think I need to validate everybody's feelings. No, I don't. And I'm going to stand by that. I don't need to validate everybody's every feeling. All of my emotions do not need to be validated by anyone because sometimes they are not valid. But it can seem like I'm very cold or dismissive in relationships. It's not that I don't care. I truly care. It's just that I don't feel the same way that others do all the time, if that makes sense. Hopefully, I didn't make myself sound like a complete witch today, but I think it's important to acknowledge that we all have these traits. I don't think that any of these are good and bad. I think that they are just traits. They never exist in isolation. They're very situational, but they do exist. The most important part is owning them. If you remember the baddie framework, balanced, authentic, driven, deserving, iconic, evolving. Being authentic to yourself is knowing your values, your traits, knowing yourself essentially. Because if you know yourself, it doesn't matter what other people say about you. So yes, someone can say, you seem so cold right now. I couldn't be offended by that because I do know I can come off that way. Thank you so much for showing up to this video with some curiosity. And hopefully I can hear some comments from you below. What toxic trait do you have and how has that served you? Or what do you think about my toxic traits? I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. And if you are not subscribed, be sure to subscribe and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.